Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Today I'm going to share with you a fancy fold. It's like, I think the best way of calling it is a center step card. You just pick this piece up like that and it kind of hooks behind, and you can see that it makes a really pretty card. Now this idea was something somebody sent a card to me several years ago, and I tucked it away as a good idea, and this is the one. I cannot remember who sent it to me and I apologize, but you can see it's the same idea, and I've just taken it and updated it with the latest products from the 2019-2020 Stampin' Up! Catalogue. So I am featuring the Good Morning Magnolia bundle on this. We're using this big magnolia here. We're using this flower. We're using the hello, and we're also using the dies to cut out. Now, because this card is about the fold, I've already pre-prepared some of the items, so that this isn't a long video showing you repetitive things. So how I'm going to start then is with the base card, and this is just 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it down the middle at 4.25, and then I've used my X-Acto knife to make some cuts, and this is 1 3/4 inches in from the edge on both sides, and then that leaves like a 2-inch piece in the middle, and then I've just scored that halfway, and so that's basically at 2 1/8. So I'm going to put in my folds, and I like to use my bone folder, and I like to make sure that all my corners and my edges are all lined up before I put my fold in, and I'm going to do the two end ones first, and then finally the one in the middle. And then I'm just going to gently bend the center fold back, just line up my edges nice so they're nice and even, and then put my fold in. Okay, so that's my base card. Now this has got a lot of panels on it, and I am using the Good Morning Magnolia Designer Series paper, and so the measurements for all of these pieces are going to be on my blog, and if you look below this video then you should see a link, and it will take you right there, and it will explain exactly how each of these measurements are taken. Now, Designer Series paper, which is the decorative paper I'm using, is double-sided, and so for the original card I used this side of my paper, but on this one I'm going to use the stripy side, and I'm going to use, this is the greeny side, and I'm going to use the flowery side, just so as ring the bells a little bit. So I'm just going to stick my panels down. I like to use liquid adhesive. It gives me some working room or some working time, because the margins on these layers is about a 1/16 of an inch all round, or is it an 1/8 of an inch? Anyway, close enough. They're fine. And with the liquid glue, it just gives me an opportunity to just wiggle and slide it back in, so I've got a nice even border on my card pieces. Okay, so I'm going to be using the mini dimensionals to stick these some of the panels, and then I'm also going to be using liquid adhesive to stick the other panels on, so we get variety of sort of thickness. So the first thing I'm going to do is this center panel, and you can see that there is a little margin here and here at the bottom, and I am going to use my liquid adhesive to stick that down. and just going to make sure I get my margin, and I'm roughly, when I'm trying to just sort of line it up with my 2 cut lines there, press that firmly down, and then I'm going to stick down my side panels. So again, I'm going to do it carefully, so I got all my edges and my corners nicely lined up. There we go. Oops, not quite. There we go. And then I've got 2 side panels, and they're going to go on with the dimensionals. So if you just pressure the backing down with a nail, you should find that the backing actually curls up, and it's easy for you to just pick up the bits. My house has got these little bits, the backing of the dimensionals all over the place. And then the funniest thing is when one of my little dogs picks up them on their nose and they look at me. I've got 2 Yorkies, and they look up at me, and they've got like a little hexagonal piece of paper on their noses. They are really comical, and it doesn't seem to bother them either. Okay, so these are these panels now going down here like that. Then I'm going to bring this one forward, and I am going to be using the liquid adhesive again to stick those down. Now these aren't square, so you're going to have to watch to make sure that you put them the right way round when you've cut them from the instructions. As I say on my blog, you will find the instructions for that. Now I don't know which way to put that one, because there's a flower going down and a flower going up and a flower going up. I think I'll do it where the 2 flowers are going up. I think that would work. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to set that to dry a few moments. Now the stamp set, the Good Morning Magnolia stamp set, has got this really lovely couple of greetings, and I'm going to be using the hello, and I've stamped that, and I'm using the black Memento ink, and I've stamped that, and then I've punched it out with the 1 3/8 scallop circle punch, and then I've layering it onto a 1 1/2 inch early espresso card circle, and I've already put a couple of dimensionals on the back, and I want to double them up just to give me more height for my little easel to stick on. So I'm taking the backings off and putting another one on top, and that gives me extra height. And then I'm just going to again take the backings off, and I'm going to just work out where that would give me the best thing. So there, and I'm going to press that down firmly. Now the flowers that I'm using are the magnolias, and I have stamped them and cut them out with the dies ahead of time. And I've used my stamping blends, and I've used the Old Olive blends, the petal petal pink, and then for my little stem here I have used the crumb cake, and then for my stamens the Daffodil Delight. Now you must keep your blends horizontal. You mustn't stack them on the end, which is why I keep them in my little basket so as I don't forget and stick them in my pot. So again, I have layered my little magnolia buds onto the 1 1/2 inch circles of early espresso, and I'm just gonna attach them onto there. Again, I'm using some liquid glue, and then I'm just going to use a Stampin' Dimensional to put it on my card, and taking the backing off. And you want to attach this to the card to make sure it does not overhang the footprint of the card. Otherwise, when it goes in the envelope, it'll all get squished. So I'm going to fiddle it around before it sticks, just to make sure. Yes, I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to just pop this one so it faces the corner as well. All right. So here's my magnolia, and I found that you need to have it kind of facing from, if you like, bottom left to upper right, to get the maximum amount of your flower to be able to stick onto this panel and still be within the footprint of my card. Again, if the leaves overlap, you will find that when they go into the envelope, they're going to get all squished. So you basically have to map or envision where you need to put your dimensionals. So I'm just going to go back and double check. So I need to make sure that this leaf does not go over this edge. So looking behind here, I can see that if I put one around about where my stamens are, like that, and then if I have another and I pop it maybe behind this leaf, but more toward the petal, there we go. And let's see, I only really perhaps need to put 3. So I know I've got one there. So I think I'm going to put one behind this point here, like that. And that just gives me this little sort of triangle of dimensionals here. All right, so once again, with getting the backs off, and I'm just going to lay my piece down again, and I'm just going to work carefully through to make sure that nothing overhangs. And I'm going to double check to make sure none of my dimensionals are showing on the back here, and then I'm going to press really firmly to make sure that they're all caught down. And then my final flourish, which I cannot resist, is to use a couple of pearls. And so I'm just going to use the putty end of my take your pick tool and just pop a couple down like that. And I stamp the envelope with the little magnolia as well, because we don't let unstamped envelopes leave the house. And so there we have that lovely center step pop-up card, and you can see that's the way they work. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I've certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. Remember to click on the link below this video and it'll take you to my blog, where you'll find all the dimensions for cutting out the layers, as well as a link to my online store where you can go ahead and buy the supplies to make your own. Thank you, and bye for now.